I know there's a lot of things that I wanted to clarify, but some of this, a couple of things just that I wanted to cover at this point, because I know it's so many things that we needed to cover. But I know that over the years, people have been saying, or there's been comments that I was paying babysitters that worked at my home with county funds. And I wanted to clarify that that never happened. I did have a mother working at my house as my babysitter whose daughter was working at the county. The lady worked for me for 5 years, and she never worked at the county. She worked at my house, and her daughter worked at the county. Now, the babysitters I had at home, I paid out of my own personal funds. The second babysitter that I had was a college student, and she worked for me at my home, and her sister worked at the county. And I paid her out of my personal funds. So I think there was some sort of miscommunication as far as babysitters and their relatives working at the precinct. So I just wanted to clarify that those people working at my home were paid by my personal funds. Yeah, there was a recording that was used in the federal case that was, excuse me, that was recorded by that defendant with her own personal recorder, and then put into her computer, and that recording was doctored up by that co-defendant. The conversation that came out was not what the conversation really was. And I wanted to clarify that that recording was not made by the FBI. That recording was made by that co-defendant herself on a recorder that she had, which she then transferred to a computer disk. So the conversation that was on that tape was completely taken out of context, and what was said on that recording was not the whole conversation. It was really hard to hear when the judge said that he found me guilty, but I had already thought about, there was an incident that happened to me with a company that made me realize that, I was the head of that precinct. I was the county commissioner responsible for anything that happened there, and it just dawned on me that I have to take responsibility for actions that were taken by staff, employees, that even though I was not aware that it was going on, but I realized I have to take responsibility for anything that went wrong. And so I made the decision to do just that, and put an end to all of this, and just, it's been going on since 2006, and it's just gotten, the time is passing, it needs to be resolved, and I just made a decision to do that. It was very hard to hear, what he said, but it's also putting an end to this whole situation, and this will allow me to continue with my life. Well, I'm going to get my personal life back in order. I have to put the pieces back together. My son is, I've got to get his life back in order, and my daughter as well. And once I get my personal life in order, I'm going to write a couple of books. One on the history of the county going into the 21st century and what it was like, and what projects were done. It's going to be a history book about the county and the precinct. And then there'll be a second book, an autobiography on my life, discussing everything from the time that I grew up through my political time and being the first female county commissioner, what that was like, all the way through going through the trial and my time in prison and what it was like to be in prison and what kind of life it was and what I learned from all of this. And that's going to cover pretty much my whole life. So it'll be an autobiography as the second book. So I'm working on 2 books right now.